Okay, so yesterday I covered the starting of the Lambda, right? And I covered the EC2, right? I showed about EC2 instances, right? How we can create a new instance and we can connect the EC2 instance because we want to connect a different ways to create a EC2 instance. So just I'm recapping it, okay? If you want to launch a new instance, because there are many different services are there in AWS, and for the different category services are there. You can see the EC2 here, this all services. This one. So here you can see the category of the services are there. So analytics services there, right? And compute is there, container services, database services, okay, machine learning services, Internet of Things services, storage services. Those are mostly used for the data engineering, right? When we are learning data engineering. So we need storage services important for us, and analytics services are most important because here, like we are using Lambda, this glue EMR, right, Kinesis, right? Okay. And these are the services are especially used for the data engineering. Like Athena is for the dashboard query tool. Okay, service serverless. Okay, and some are the compute services, EC2 Lambda, right? These are the compute services we are going to use. So EC2 is the most common one, like create a servers, create a machines basically. You can create EC2 machines. It's like a virtual VMs, right? You can create, and these virtual VMs, you can create a different types of instances are there, right? T2, micro, mini, medium. So these type of category instances are there. Whether you want to create an instance for the compute intensive or memory intensive, right? Or GPU intensive. So based on the requirement, we can create an instance. So yesterday I showed, right, how to create a basic like launch, right, instance. It's a very simple process. So if you go here and click on the launch instance, you can create your new EC2 instance. And when you're going to create a new EC2 instance, you have to provide your EC2 instance name, and you are providing the what type of operating system you want on the EC2, right? Whether it's a Linux AMI image or Mac OS or Windows or Ubuntu, Red Hat, okay? So you can choose here. And once you're choosing the OS, then you have to tell which type of instance you are going to, like this is a 24.04, that is the latest image, okay? And we have already done WSL. You guys already know, right, how to set up WSL. So you have to set up in Windows WSL by using Ubuntu. So this way you can set up your locally your machine with the Ubuntu with WSL. And instance type in the cloud, when we are going to do, we have to choose here the which Ubuntu version you are going to use as a EC2 instance. And T2 micro or mini medium, right? You have, right, T2 micro, T2 small, T2 medium, right, T2 large. So depending on the CPUs and core memories, right, you can define your the type of instance, and then you can select the key pair. If you have already key pair, you can use the same key pair. This is a good practice. You create a key pair once and use it for all the instances, right? You don't need to remember, right, which instance you are using which key pair. So if you are particular, one key pair can use for all the instances, or if you want to create a first time, you can create a new key pair. So it will take you to another pop-up, right? And there you can give your key pair name and you can create a PAM file. Because if you create a PAM file, you can convert PAM to PPK. And if you directly use a PPK, it will be used only for putting. Okay. So PAM file is like you can use in the MOVA Xcom you can use. Yesterday I showed that how to install the MOVA Xcom, and you can create a multiple tabs, right? MOVA Xcom. So MOVA Xcom you can set up. So these all things I showed yesterday video you can see. So MOVA Xcom you can start, and there you can have a multiple tabs and you can connect your EC2 instance. So this is my yesterday, the EC2 instance. I have not shut down the EC2 instance, so I can still connect because it is running. So I can connect. I can connect to my EC2 instance, and it is connecting. So if I check ls here, I'm able to see the directory in my EC2 instance. Okay, so you can create a new connection. So you can create a new connection by session you go, and here you have SSH option. Here you give the public IP, and Ubuntu is using the Ubuntu is a username. Okay, EC2 instance Ubuntu is the username Ubuntu, and then you go to the advanced setting, and here you select the PPK file. Okay, but this private key file or PEM file, anything you can give, here it will work. Okay, so this is the way how to set up the MoveXterm, or you can use WinSAP to connect. Okay, Git bash you can use, Git bash you can connect. So first going to create your EC2 instance, you will create a key pair here, and add key pair, and this is all settings, you can keep it default. And this is the option to how much configure you storage for your EC2. This is a EBS volume. EBS is a block storage. This is a internal disk for your EC2, like just like a SSD volume you are using for your laptop, right? So same thing is SSD volume is for your EC2. You can configure here. So 30 GB is up to free, right? For multiple instances. Suppose you have 2 instances, and for 2 instances you are going to use 15 GB. So 30 GB monthly is free tier eligibility. But more than 30 GB you are trying to use, then it will be paid, okay, chargeable. So hourly base it will be charged, and it will be showing the cost, how much cost of your EC2 instance if it is running 750 hours. So 750 hours for one instance, but suppose you have a 2 instance and both are running 750, like 720 hours in a month, right? So for other 720 hours you have to pay, because 750 is free. But if you calculate the total hours of both the instances, that will be 720 plus 720. So 750 will be not paid, but other remaining out of 1400, right? 720 plus 720, right? 1440, right? So if you minus 750, so that will be chargeable. Okay. So like this, you can create a new instance. And when you launch the instance, and number of instances also you can specify here. How many instances you want to here create at a time. You can create multiple instances in a one single go. Okay. So here I'm choosing the key pair. Okay. And now I'm creating a new instance. So this will create another new instance, because I already created a one instance, and this is the second instance is going to create, and it will take within a 30-second it will be running state. So then I can connect in my new instance also. I will show once. Okay. So there is a putty also I can connect. There are multiple ways to connect my EC2 instance. So putty, I need a PPK file. So for this particular key pair file, right? So I have to create a PPK file, and PPK file we generate by using the puttygen. So puttygen is a way, right? We can generate a PPK file. So you can you can load here your PAM file. So whatever your PAM file is there, this is my PAM file. This is PPK file. So here I go for all files. So I will find whatever my PAM file is there. I can generate the PPK file. This is my PAM file. So this PAM file I will load and create a new PPK file. Okay, so say private key file. Okay, and I will generate another new one. Okay, I already have PPK file for the same PAM file, but I'm creating another new one. Okay, now if I check my EC2 instance, so it will be running. So there are the multiple ways to connect to my EC2 instance. There is a one, if you don't use the PAM file, or you are not going to use the putty or git bash, you can directly connect to your instance. So I did specify name there. That is the reason that name is not coming. But now I can specify my instance name. Okay. Okay, I can specify my instance name, and I can connect here, and there is this is the EC2. This is the AWS provided instance connect. This instance connect is I'm connecting directly in the EC2 machine itself. Okay, so there I'm connecting browser based terminal, right? And that I'm connecting directly my EC2. Okay, so this new EC2 instance I connected. Okay, so if I create a directory, cd test, okay, and cat, okay, so here is my file is there. Now this EC2 machine I want to connect, so I need a public IP. I need a public IP. This public IP I can use in my, okay, MovaXterm if I want to do. So MovaXterm I can do with the session new SSH and remote machine, and I give the Ubuntu is my user. Okay, advanced setting here I will choose the PAM file. So here I give my, let's write this PPK file, accept. PPK is not taking session. Ubuntu. Some other, taking a correct IP. Okay, now I refresh again. Let's connect with the git bash here, some issue. So here, git bash. So I'll go to the downloads, my PAM file, and I'll take a URL of my SSH client here, this URL. Okay, so this my EC2 key pair, if I search here my EC2, my EC2. Oh, I have given the different PAM file. Okay, that's the reason. Okay, I was trying with the different one. That's the reason I was not able to connect. So this is my key pair file. So when I'm connecting in MovaXterm, okay, so that's the reason I was not able to connect. Okay, so edit session. So here, what file I'm giving, this is different. My EC2 key pair. So that's the reason if you keep it one key pair file, that is better. Open. It is there or not, my EC2. Okay, that file is moved from here. Okay, so this instance I can't use it because you have to delete, because if the file is removed, you can't use it because you can't get back your file again. Okay, so this instance we have to delete, and only way is we can connect manually in the EC2 instance connect. So this way I can connect only. Okay, because if my file is moved or it is removed, right? If I don't have in my local, so I can't use it. Okay. So this way you can connect and test your EC2 instance. Okay. And now next is S3, right? S3 is a storage service. So we know, right? It's a object file storage, and basically it is common for all EC2 instances. Okay. So any EC2 instance can use this S3 bucket. An S3 bucket, you can create a bucket is a container. It is holding the files and objects, right? File as a objects. Okay. So first of all, when you are going to create a bucket, so you make sure, right, your bucket should be unique across the globe, right? You cannot use the same bucket. Okay. So in bucket, right, we can create further folders, and these folders, like, I can store the files. Okay. So when I'm going to create my new bucket, I say my bucket. Okay. So any random name you are taking, it will be already there, right? Because already this bucket is created by someone, right? You cannot choose the same bucket with the name you specify. So use some unique name combination. So you can use some date and time folder, right? Date and time, so that date will be make it unique, right? If I create 07/28 and 2024, maybe today someone has created this bucket or not. Okay, because in the across the globe nobody has created this bucket. Okay, so I got this bucket. Okay, so this bucket is I'm creating in the Mumbai region. Okay, so you can create a bucket anywhere. Okay, suppose this all the buckets, everything you want to access from your local machine, so you can configure the AWS CLI. So AWS CLI you have to configure, and you can access the all the AWS services through command line. So how many ways are there you can access your AWS? Okay, so there is a one way you can access AWS by using the console. That is very common way. Like we can use a AWS account by using the UI, okay, the global, right, the AWS console. So AWS console will give you the access of the all the services you can access, okay, whichever services you want to access and you want to configure and you want to use it, you can use it, okay. But sometimes the AWS console access is not giving. Mostly companies are giving a programmatic access, like they are giving an access key, secret key. So access key and secret key, you can generate your own access key or just secret key, and then you can access the services programmatic way. So when you create an access key, secret key, and then you can use the command line, right? Command line, you can access like AWS configure, and then you can provide your access key and secret key, and then you can access your console. Okay, so if I'm using, I'll show you like in my CMD, like suppose I want to see what are the number of buckets are there in my AWS account. Okay, so I have to type AWS configure. I have already installed AWS CLI in my local machine. Okay, that is the reason I'm able to run this command AWS configure. If you try AWS configure, it will not work. So what you need to do, you have to AWS configure, you have to install, right? So you have to follow the installation of the latest version of the AWS CLI. Okay, so you are doing in the Windows, so you have to follow these steps. You have to run this MSI, and then you will see the AWS version. So you are able to see the, so if I check it, AWS hyphen version, so you can see here this AWS CLI version is 2.30. So this is the latest version going on, okay, for the Windows, okay, and Python version. So mine Python version is 3.11.4, and Windows 10, 11, whatever Windows you are using. So this is 2.30. So you configure first AWS CLI, and now next thing is you have to AWS configure you have to do, because AWS configure you have to do to set your access key and secret key, because I'm already set the access key and secret key. So if you want to change your access key, secret key, again you give access key, secret key. So if you don't want to change it, just enter, and it will take it. It's already preset value. So if you are able to set your value, if you are able to set the value, then you can set it. So if you want to use the existing value, you can take it that value. Okay, and if you want to change it, if you want to change it, then you can change it. Okay, so you can either change it or you can use existing one. Okay, once you set it this one, if you set it that one, then after you can do the command okay. So after that, like suppose you want to access AWS S3 services, like S3, you want to access the S3 command. So you have to use AWS and then you give which service command you want to access, like S3. So S3 has different commands are there. So you have to tell which sub command you want to use. You are giving a less parameters, okay? So this command is saying to you, you are giving a less parameter. So you have to use AWS S3 LS. So when I do AWS S3 LS, it is going to me showing me all the bucket of different reason, right? What are the all the buckets? The same bucket, whatever you are able to see here, same number of buckets are coming here. Okay. So these all buckets are coming here, same, right? You can see even you can create a bucket from here itself because you don't have the access of console and you want to create a bucket. You say my MB command, make bucket, and you give the bucket name. So if you try some existing bucket, so what happens, right? Okay, suppose you try this bucket and what it says. You have to give S3 colon / you have to tell like a bucket path. So if bucket is created 04, this is not a new bucket it created. If I check this bucket, it is saying this bucket is not a new, it is already 28 April is created. So it is not giving error, but it is not creating as a new. It is just showing make bucket, but it is not creating new. Okay, so I create a new bucket 0728. So 2024 I created. So 01 I'm adding. Okay, now we refresh the bucket. I check it here. This is my bucket. I find where is this bucket created? Okay, so this bucket is created today just now, and this is view analyze for the some IAM access person has created. This is you are getting different way it is created. Okay, so this is the northeast region. Why it is created in the North Virginia? Because my AWS configure is set for the region US East one, the default region, right? So whatever action I will do, everything will perform for that region. If you want to change different region, Mumbai region, you have to change US, the southeast one. What is the region name? Mumbai region. Okay. AP South one. So this region you have to set it. Okay. So then you are able to see this is a new bucket is created. Okay. So like this, you can access the AWS S3 services or any other like EC2 instance. Even you can start and stop your instance from the command line. So if you use AWS EC2, and there are the more parameters needed. So this is help is showing. So this is AWS EC2 help I'm saying. So this is showing me what are the options, all this it's there. Okay. Okay, so this way we can access any one of the services. Okay, so now bucket, what we can do, we can upload the files. We can upload the file here, add file. So suppose I'm going to upload some file, text file I'm going to upload. Okay, and I'm uploading the file in my bucket. Okay, so there are the options like you can like S3 copy URL, right? You can see here, or like HTTP URL, you can see here, download the file, you can delete the file, or you can do some other option, right? You can copy, move, right, from one bucket to another bucket. All those things you can do. Create folder, generally the folder we create, like we want to make it separation, right? Like because everything we don't create in a single folder. So we create a separate folder to make it like get a clarity, right? Which folder we have the file. And you have another option is a property option. Property, like you can create a versioning, right? By default versioning, okay, like if you see here the suspended, right? You have to enable a versioning, and when you make it versioning, so whenever you are deleting the file, so it will create the version, right? Okay, like it's a soft delete, okay. And when you are adding a new content of the file, suppose you, so abhi right now only one file is there, but if I upload again the same file with the different content, okay. So if I go here in my this file emp this file and this file, so I'm creating a new version because the existing version is this one, and I want to make it a new version of this file. So I'm adding some more content in this file. So once I add a more content, I add a one more row in this file, okay, and this file I save it, and now I'm going to upload it. This is just now updated, okay. So I'm uploading this file. Okay, so here I go to I already enabled the bucketing versioning enable, okay. So I select the file. There we can see the multiple versions. Versions. Can you see here? This is like initial copy and this is current version. So you can see one more version is created 11.19. Okay. Suppose this version you want to open, delete, right? Or whatever you want to do or download. Like I downloaded this version and now this version I'm going to open. I'm getting a new version, right? If I'm going to download my, this version is not giving this current version, some key is given to this version ID is given, okay, and I'm going to open this version. So this way you can do, this is a 3 record, right? This is the older version, okay. So this is the older version, so you can check your versions, right? So the version things is the, you can find in your files, you can version you can maintain if you have enabled version in your bucket, okay. So when you enable the version, okay. And next is like you can have encryption, like you can create an encryption, you can enable, okay. So like it's a by default disable, but you have to enable, so you can do the encrypted your files you can encrypt, okay. And the other properties are there, like you can create a custom event. Yesterday I showed that how can we create a new custom event, right? Like this event notification. So is event notification, like suppose you upload a file in S3, your Lambda will be triggered. Okay, so this thing you can configure, or you can create in the Lambda, you can create an event and it will be showing here. Okay, either way you can do. Okay, so once you define this property, you can do. Now, if I want to go to Lambda, and now I will create some Lambda handler I will create, which is reading the event from the SQS. Okay, this is the yesterday one I created from the S3, right? I'm going to read, not this one. So I'm going to read the file from the S3. So if any file is uploaded in my bucket, in this particular S3 bucket, if my file is uploaded, if my file is uploaded in S3 bucket, it will automatically detect the file because I'm using, if I'm using the S3, I'm reading the file. Okay, I read the file. This is the code. This is different one. Okay, I'm thinking I'm using North Virginia region, so I go to Mumbai region because that lambda function I created in the Mumbai region. So here is this is the lambda function. Okay, so this lambda function is reading S3 file. Okay, this is the S3 trigger. So I show you this S3 trigger is how it looks like. So this S3 trigger you see here, you are defining your the bucket and which bucket you have the prefix, the folder, the inside the bucket there is a folder, my folder, and this bucket you upload a file and you can see the content. Okay, so first you have to in the S3, in the S3 you go to this bucket, and in the my folder I'm giving, so I will upload in the my folder. So I will upload any file in my folder, and this event, right, this S3 event. So when the file you upload, then and this custom event is already there in the S3. Okay, if you look at the S3, you will find this event already there for this particular bucket, because for this bucket, you can see here this particular bucket. So if I go to the bucket and I will show you here property. So you can see here already one custom event is configured, right? So event notification is configured and it is pointing to the this lambda function. Okay. So either you create a new event function or you can add it existing one, you can add it. If you check this, so you can see already existing one which you configured. So how to configure a new one? Like you given your event like a prefix folder and what type of file will come. So you are handling only txt file. Okay, if you are giving star, it means any file it can read. Okay, but .txt means you are giving a pattern. You are not allowing any other file to as a custom event, and all the type is there. Whether it's a post request or put or copy, anything happen in the bucket, it will trigger the lambda. And here you are calling the lambda. So here I given using the ARN, I copy the ARN, my lambda ARN, or you can choose the lambda, right? Lambda function, you can choose whatever your lambda function, either way is fine. So you save this one. So once you created this, you will see in your lambda function, you will see this trigger will come automatically. Or here is the option also, you can create trigger manually, like create add trigger, and you can select your S3, right? You want to create a trigger for S3, like S3 can trigger your lambda, right? Okay, same thing is you are giving here all the create event and prefix, suffix, okay, and you will acknowledge it. Okay, after that, you will see in S3 one custom event is created. Okay, so already I have a custom event. So I'm showing you the demo, right, for this particular lambda function, for this lambda function, how the S3, if you upload a file, how it will be trigger lambda. Okay. So when I come to my this S3 bucket and this my folder, here I will upload the file, not folder. I will upload a file, add file, and I will do some text file because I have given the pattern is a text. So I'm giving a this test.txt file. I'm uploading the file here and I go to my lambda, I will go to the monitor tab, and monitor tab, there is a cloud watch I will see. So I will see the logs here and I will check in the log, like my lambda is triggered and it is able to read the file. This is a today date, 28, and you see here, I'm able to read a record. Actually, I'm printing in the lambda function. If you see the lambda function code, so lambda function code, what I'm going to do, I'm writing a code as a Boto3. So this is the Lambda Boto3 code. So Boto3 I am using the Python API library Boto3, which is creating a connection with the S3 and read the file. So first of all, I'm getting a connection with the S3 client and I'm printing this event object. This event object is coming from the S3. Okay. So when the Lambda is hit, then this event will print. Okay. So you can see this event here in the CloudWatch, this event, and here is my S3 bucket. From where the event came, I'm getting my bucket name and key is a file name. So this is a test.txt is called. Okay, and I'm getting, but this file is empty. So here I'm printing this file content. If you see, here is the file content, but this file content is showing empty. So it means my file is not having any content. So this test.txt, you can see it's a 0 size file. It's a 0 size file. So that's the reason it is showing empty content. So now I'm putting some content, hello. Okay, and I'm saving this file. Now I upload the file again in the Lambda. I go here S3. So I upload the file again. Same file I'm uploading. Upload, add file, and I'm uploading this test.txt. So now I'm upload the file, and I go to the here monitor tag, and there I will see the CloudWatch. So CloudWatch, I can see the log. So you can see here, sometimes it's updating in the same log, right? Because if you see this time file content is hello is coming. You can see the difference here. The last time file content was blank because the data is not there. But this time the file content has the data hello. So this means like the file is triggered. File is triggering the Lambda and Lambda is reading the data. And now further, what you want to do with the data, you can do anything. Suppose you want to write this data to any other services, right? RDS or DynamoDB, right? You can create anything, or you can write in the another S3 bucket. So Boto3 is helping you to read the content of the file and you can write. So whenever you're reading a content of a file, it's like a key. File is a key and bucket is the, so key is having both, right? Your prefix is a folder name and slash your file name. Okay. So you are able to read. Now I will show you how to read the content from the SQS. So SQS is another service in AWS that is a simple queue service. And this simple queue service is a queuing service. It's like a first in, first out queue. So the messages will come in the queue first, that will go from the queue first. Okay. So queue is the first in, first out. So we are going to use basically I'm going to create a queue. So I'm going to create my new queue, some queue name I'm giving where I want to write some message, first in, first out delivery. Okay. And this, I just create the queue. I don't need to do anything else. Just create a queue because name must in with people. Okay. Okay. Let's see this standard queue. Okay, so this queue I created, and this queue, if you check your other queues already, okay, I don't have queue in the Mumbai region. So I have, this is my new queue I created just now. And this queue I want to send a message. So you have an option here, send and receive message. So when I do here, hello message in queue, okay, I just say this is my first message I want to send. Sometimes dynamically these messages can be sent, but here is a hard-coded I'm sending. Okay, so this is a hard-coded message I'm just sending manually. This message is sent, but where my function is going to receive this message, because I have to write code, I have to configure code, because this code cannot take the message from the queue, right? So whenever I want to configure, my queue can get the message in my Lambda. So I have to configure one trigger. Okay, because this particular code is for S3. So you have to manage if else condition. right? Whenever your message is coming from the S3 or from the SQS. So if you don't go for that much complexity, I can create a new function and I say I'm creating a new Lambda function. I say my SQS Q Lambda. Okay. I define my SQS Q Lambda and I will define which Python I'm going to runtime environment. So I'm taking a Python 3.11. And yesterday I told about whenever you want to use a role, so choose your existing role. So I have already created a Lambda basic execution role. So you have to select the role. Yesterday I created this ETL pipeline role, okay, which is having already the permission of running any Lambda and S3 full access. So when you have a permission of S3 full access and Lambda, so if you want to go to this role, how to go this role? So you can directly go to check this role, or you want to select ETL pipeline role and you click on this, it will open your role in a new window. When you click on this, you can see what are the policies are attached to this role. So I'm already having the policies, because if I don't give this AWS Lambda basic execution role policy for this particular role, so you cannot run the Lambda. You have IAM role permissions, right? So you have to define like this particular role has S3 full access, glue console if I want to use glue. Okay, otherwise I can remove this, and S3 will definitely need if I'm doing. But now I have already done S3. Now which service I need to add? Now which service I need to add? Which service I need to add? I'm practicing for which service? Which service I'm going to trigger Lambda? From which service I'm going to trigger Lambda? Can anyone tell? Which service I'm going to trigger Lambda? Are you guys able to see like what I'm going to do? What service I configured just now? I configured SQS, right? I showed the SQS, right? So I'm going to trigger my Lambda from the SQS, right? So if I'm going to trigger Lambda from the SQS, so I have to add permission for SQS. So if I have configured my SQS, so this SQS, right? I just created in front of you my queue in the SQS, and I want to trigger Lambda from the SQS. So I have to add a SQS here in this role, because if I'm not keeping it SQS here, so my Lambda will not be triggered from the SQS. Okay, so all the attachment and policy I'm attaching here so that my Lambda can be triggered. So I have to add a permission attach policy. I select here SQS, full access, add permission. Now my Lambda is ready to do that. So this is my new Lambda I'm creating, and I'm using this role, and this role is now added with this full access, right? This attached policy. Okay. Now I'm creating a Lambda. So this Lambda is, I have to write a code. So only the thing is left here in this Lambda. I have to add a code to take the input from the SQS. Okay. So when you write a message in SQS, your Lambda will trigger and will show the message in the Lambda console. Okay. So now I have to add a code in the Lambda. So the SQS code, I have already SQS code. So I'm showing you the SQS code. So this link you can see also. So this Lambda handler, if you see this code, you can see similar type of code here. Okay. So you can see how to write a Lambda SQS code, how to trigger SQS to Lambda. Okay, so you can create a Lambda first, you can create a SQS queue, and then you add a trigger, and then you specify here the trigger. Okay, so you have to do one more thing is here that we have not done in this Lambda, add a trigger, because we have just created SQS queue. We added a role in Lambda for SQS and add a trigger. So here I need to tell which service you want to trigger. Just say SQS and tell here the queue name, because there are multiple queues are there. Okay. So, but Lambda, how Lambda will know, right, which service is going to trigger, which like a queue is triggering from the SQS. So I have to select my SQS queue. Okay, and just add this. So your Lambda will have your SQS queue trigger. Okay, now next thing is going to the code, and this code I have to modify because this code is not doing anything. This is a sample code. It is nothing has implementation. If I just say print hello, so it will print hello. Okay, but it will not read any message. So reading message, suppose I want to read the message. So what I need to do, whatever event is coming in the event is a type of record, and the record is having the body, and this body will have your SQS message. So what I will do, I will copy this entire thing and I will, okay. So you can keep it import JSON, sometimes like JSON data handling you are doing. And here now, if I want to print this event, like how the event looks like, so you can print event. Okay, so what are the parameters is coming from the SQS queue, you can print, and this is a print content I'm doing. So two things I'm doing. One is doing print event, like the complete JSON data, which is coming from the SQS queue. And whenever you do any code change, you have to deploy your Lambda. Otherwise, your changes will not be reflected. So here is saying changes not deployed. You click on the deploy, and now you're going to trigger your event. Okay, so now I go to my queue. Where is gone? Send and receive. Okay, so my previous message is already there, but I'm sending another second message. So this is my second message. I'm sending this, and now I'm going to the CloudWatch. So I will go to, so I don't need to do anything, is there? It is automatically triggered. Now I will go to the monitor and check my CloudWatch log. So CloudWatch log. Here I will verify this is the same time. It's a UTC time, 4 hours ahead. So okay, I have did mistake. So there is no E1 is not there. There is an event. Okay, so that's my coding typo. I have to paste it correctly or write it correctly. Deployed. I will send the message again. CloudWatch, the SQS sending message. But this message is already stored in the queue. Okay, so I will get all the messages which I already sent. Okay, monitor. I can refresh here this CloudWatch log. If maybe it created a new one. Now you can see my message is coming like this. This is a SQS message. What is the event source? AWS SQS. What is my message? Second hello message in the queue, right? So this is the message is showing. Okay, and again you see this is the second hello message, again second time, two time I hit the same message. Okay, so this message is coming here, and it is, how is the content of this one? This is my content, which I'm going to show the content in the Lambda function print, right? So here in the Lambda function print, I'm printing the content. So this content is showing my this content. Okay. So I'm able to get my SQS message in my Lambda. Suppose I want to do some more example, like suppose I want to read some file in S3 and I want to write into DynamoDB. So in the Boto 3, you can create a two client you are creating. One is a S3 client, which is reading a file. Another client is a DynamoDB client, and you are creating a DynamoDB table by using the Dynamo client. And this table name is this, and you are creating a table with the column names. These are string columns. So S is there. So one column is artist column, song column is there, and you are defining the schema and those things. And then you are going to read a file and then trigger the your this Lambda, and Lambda will write the data into DynamoDB. Okay, so this is the one example, and there is like if you want to read a CSV file and write into DynamoDB, okay, we can try that code. So here, this one, suppose this is my EMP CSV file is there, and this file, and again like this one, I'm creating a one DynamoDB resource and I'm creating a table here, and this table I'm inserting data, my employee ID, name, and profession. So these all three fields I'm getting as a CSV data. So first I'm reading that file, and here I'm splitting by the new line first data, and then we are splitting by the comma. So new line first I'm separating it, I will get all the employee objects, and this is I'm getting all the employee list. And once I'm iterating this list, I'm iterating each value in the list, and I'm separating out by line item is a comma delimited, right? This is the first value, this is the second value, and this is the third value. And then I'm adding in the table like put item. So put item is a method which is writing data into DynamoDB table. So dynamically you are adding data into your DynamoDB table. So this is using the Boto 3, you are configuring your reading the file from the S3 and writing data to the DynamoDB table. So you can create one more Lambda function, or you can change this Lambda function. Okay, so we can. So here I have given the hard-coded bucket. So I'm giving a hard-coded bucket, so I can use this bucket, and particular this bucket should have this file. If this file is there, then you can read the file from this bucket and you can trigger Lambda. Okay. So here is no need of any trigger is needed. Just simply you are directly reading the file and writing to the DynamoDB. Okay. So we can even modify this code. So now I have to test the code. So I have to use this test because I'm not triggering. I have to manually trigger, right? So some event name is giving my event, some any name you can give. Okay. And you are not reading any JSON data manually, so it can be put a hard coded. Okay. So here I'm getting the error of the access denied getting operation. What it means? It is like I'm whatever role I'm using for this one, this particular bucket, I'm trying to access key file. So I check whether this bucket and file is there or not. Okay, so I check this bucket. So S3 I go here and I go to my bucket, all the bucket. This bucket is not there. Or maybe the reason you are using this bucket and this region is different region. Okay. So first we need to see which region this my lambda is there. This is Mumbai region. Okay. And now I'm going to check this bucket is not in this region. So I should select the same region one. Okay. So Mumbai region bucket, these are all Mumbai region bucket. So I just take it permanently deleted. I will upload this file. So I have to create this file. So I'll create one file, this content. I think this file is already there, employee.csv. Okay, otherwise I create a new file. I'm going to save this file. It's a CSV file I want to save. Saving document. save the file. Now I upload the file in this bucket. The bucket name I copy. Add file. emp.csv I copied. I upload it. So in my code, I will change the bucket. Okay. I will change the bucket and file is same. Okay. Now I deploy code. Click on the test. So now I'm getting the another error. This error is coming like put item operation is not able to do. So where is doing this put operation? Where is going to do this code is where it is going to write the data. Where it is going to write data. As per this code, where it is going to write data. Where it is going to write data. Anyone can understand this one, right? Where is going to write data? It is reading data from S3, but where is writing data? Anyone can see this code and understand like where is writing data? Where is writing data? I'm reading S3 file, CSV file, where I'm going to write data. My voice is not there, anyone? So anyone is not able to hear me?
Sir, you are audible.
Not audible?
Sir, you are audible.
Audible, right? I'm asking, can anyone see this lines and tell me, right, where you are writing data? I'm simple statement asking, right? Nobody can read this text. It is some other English, not English language. Anyone cannot see here what is the source and what is the target here? What is this line? This line. What is this? What is this word? Can anyone spell this word?
DynamoDB.
What is DynamoDB?
Sir, database.
What type of database?
NoSQL database.
Okay. So in NoSQL database, how we store data? What is the form of the data? It's like a file, or what is the store of the database? Like how you store the data? No, what type of format is there, right? In the database, right? Only one single type of format is there, every database, right? What is the type, right? What format you see the data? You see as a text file data, or what you see? Any SQL or NoSQL database, what you see the data? You see the data is a table or not? In any SQL or NoSQL database, any database, right? You have seen many databases, right? Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, DB2, right? Or NoSQL database. So every database has table or not? Table, right? So I'm talking about the table only, right here. So I'm going to write the data into table, right? So I'm reading data from S3 and writing data to the table. And I'm getting the issue here. When I'm trying to do, it is saying like my authorized, I'm not authorized for this table. So what could be the problem? What is the diagnosis of this one, this line? What you understand, right? Where it could be the problem is like authorization means something like a permission denied. Like if permission denied is there, if permission denied is there, so what we are having the issue? It's a role problem. And I told you whenever we are having our this role, is this role having DynamoDB or not? This role is given DynamoDB or not right now? No, right? So I have to add the DynamoDB. Then my problem will solve. So I have to select DynamoDB full access. And now DynamoDB added. Now I run my Lambda now. I'm running again test. Now it is saying requested resource not found. Now my one problem is solved. I'm getting step by step the issues, right? So I'm going to show you what are the challenges are coming and how you are overcoming the challenges. The first problem came, right? The role was not there. You added the DynamoDB. Okay. Second one now is saying requested resource not found. Anyone can tell what is the issue what it is expecting? Which resource it is talking about? First of all, in the code, you see what is the resource, what is the meaning of the resource in a particular service, what is the meaning of the resource. So when you say the DynamoDB resource, right, or DynamoDB is, what is a resource in DynamoDB? Table is a resource, and it is expecting that resource is not found. It means whatever table we need, the table is not there. So I go the DynamoDB and check this table is there or not. So this table is not there. So what is the table I'm going to create? I'm creating a EMP1. Okay. So this table, create table. Other key is optional, sort key. Okay. Sort key is used when your data is distributed multiple cluster, right? How to access. Okay. But partition key is needed. Okay. That is a primary key of your table. And I'm going to create a table. So my table is created. So there was no table, right? So I create a table now. I'm going to hit my Lambda again. Test. It is a EMPL or EMP1. Because it looks like EMP. So it says schema-less, right? The table you can add dynamically the data. So this is the EMP1 table, but we are going to second table, EMPL. So this table is active now. Okay, if I see the view item, so here is table items. So if I query, so if you want to create a new item, you can create from here, but you want to do query, scan the table. So just click on this. So there was no data. So suppose I want to get EMPID1. So there is no data is coming. Okay. So when I'm scanning the table, I'm not getting any data. Okay. So now I hit again. This time you see there is no error, right? And it is whatever my like data which I'm reading from the CSV, it created as a list. I'm printing. So one place I was printing my this employee object as a list, right? I'm printing each row. Okay, now I check in my table. Here I run the query again. I'm getting the data. This is the same data. Can you see this is the same data? 101, 102. So if you want to do the query on a specific ID, suppose you want to do, you can give here 101 ID. Okay, like partition key ID value, and you can get the record. So this is just a filter query, right? As a where clause. But scan you do, you will get all the table record. So you are getting all the data. So your data is inserted from the Lambda. So what are the things you have done for this DynamoDB and S3? So you created a code, you created a role, and role you added the DynamoDB and full access. and then you read a S3 file in this particular bucket, and once you get the data from the file, then it is going to write as a put item. So finally, you have written the data into S3 table in the DynamoDB table. Okay. So this is another example of there many triggers are there. You can configure this way different triggers. One API gateway trigger also there. You can trigger, suppose your data is coming some REST API, how you can call the API gateway. So you can create your new API or you can use existing API. Suppose you don't have already API is there. So you can create API itself from that here. So when you create a API here, so your API gateway will automatically have the API. You already know this thing, right? Whenever you are configuring your like API gateway S3 or SQS, so it will create that configuration there. Okay. So if you go to the API gateway, so right now my API gateway, there will be no APIs already, but I can create a API. If I check all the APIs here in my Mumbai region, so right now, if I check the API, so here it is giving an option how to create an API. I can create my own API, but I want to see all the list of APIs. So I can check the APIs. API is a REST API. So when I'm configuring the Lambda here, so I can want to create a new API here. So here you can add the API. So API means like you have to define some endpoint URL, like you are defining some endpoint URL, and that endpoint URL, like this is the one endpoint URL is given. So this endpoint URL, you can hit the your API and you will get the data from the API. Okay. So API is a REST service interface, which is interface to the outer world, like from where, right, any outer external system can read the data through APIs from the AWS Lambda, or it can write the data to the AWS Lambda. So whatever I was doing from reading S3 data, I can get the data from the API, or I can read the data from the SQS. So data can come from anywhere, but Lambda is a centralized component which is handling the data and processing the data and writing data to the some other target. Okay. So target you can define. So if you just want to display the output here, so you don't need to define the target, right? Without target, you can just display output here. But suppose you want to store your output, right? Whatever your is input, you are getting data. So this time you are getting a data from the API gateway, but I don't need to client for the API gateway. So simply when I'm going to use Lambda, so from the API, so I'm going to show you one API Lambda handler. So one Lambda handler which is configured already API. So another Lambda function. This is the API, but here I'm just printing the, so this API gateway, if I click on this API gateway, this API gateway is having my endpoint. So if I click on this endpoint, so when I hit it here, so I'm getting this. So if I'm passing some parameter, suppose I say question mark ID equal to 2. Okay. So this ID equal to 2, I want to read in my Lambda. I need to configure. So first of all, when I'm just going to the monitor and checking the CloudWatch log, so my API gateway hit my Lambda. So when I checking it, so when I see here 401, this one, so here, if you see when the API gateway hit came, so in this API gateway hit, you can see here in this JSON, here is the parameter came here, ID equal to 1 value, this ID equal to 2. So query string parameter ID 2 came. Actually, I put it ID 2, not 1. So when I'm giving ID 2 and this value is coming ID 2. So you can read the parameter from the this JSON and you can use it in your code. So in the code, I can print here, like from this event, I can print only specific parameter. So in the event is a complete JSON message. Event is a complete JSON message. So event is so here we have to take it query string parameter and which has dot id. So I have to get from the id. So how to take it from complete message? Like I want to take it. So suppose you have this is complete message and you want to get it a particular message. Query string parameter. We copy this and use here. I think event of and I want to print check here in my output body output. So I'm just going to check here itself because otherwise I have to go to the CloudWatch. I deployed. I hit internal server error. So it is giving some error message. So I have to use a right parameter, right? How to get out of value from the event, right? That event which I'm just getting this event. So this event, how to get the value of that particular ID. So how to get value of request parameter. API gateway. So API gateway, when you are passing the parameter, so right. So we have to tell the Python one because we are using Python lambda. Nice. Yes. You can see the complete example of the API gateway one, like how to use the API gateway and how to get. But this is the Node.js. This is the Python code. So when you are getting from the event, this event you are getting event of operation. Exactly. What is a parameter? Like event dot like you are passing the API gateway URL, and when you are using the Python lambda, event dot query parameters, right? Event dot query parameters. Exactly. The same thing, right? Query string parameter. Let's see what is the error. Okay, ID equal to 2 is printing. Okay, further I have to give. Okay, it's coming, it's coming. So here, this ID equal to 2 is printing. This thing is printing ID 2. So further I need another, so ID of ID parameter I have to give. So when I give ID, now ID will print. Okay. So I'm going to hit lambda 2, ID is coming, right? So I'm printing the value, right? So your input value is coming here and this value you can pass through the DynamoDB and get the data. So this kind of request and response you can do, right? Based on the request coming from the API gateway, the value request parameter, and you can get the data for the resource. Okay. So this way we can handle the event handling, right? We can do in the Lambda. Okay, so try this one. I'll share the code of this one in the classroom so you can practice this. Okay. Okay, thanks everyone. Thank you.